Hi everyone, this is Danielle from Utah Adult Education, and today I wanted to share with you some different free financial literacy resources for adult education. To start off, let's just talk about why financial literacy is so important. Recently, so April 2019, the Federal Reserve Bank found that Utah ranks 10th in the nation for highest debt. The study found that per capita, each adult in Utah has an average of $59,000 in debt, the national average being $50,000. So we are higher up on the scale. The good news about that is the majority of the debt is mortgage loans, followed by car loans. And I don't know that that's surprising to anyone, which means that we are lower than the national average as far as student loan debt and credit card debt, the bad debt. But the bad news there is that the average household debt has increased by 9% over just the last couple of years, which is kind of staggering. We know that high school students who receive personal financial literacy are better off in the long term. They're able to better manage their money. That means higher savings and higher net worth down the road. And so Utah is one of just a handful of states that requires general financial literacy as a graduation requirement. So virtual high fives to Utah. And so wanted to give you guys some different resources that you can incorporate into your financial literacy courses for those students that are pursuing a high school diploma, but also wanted to get you thinking about the students who are not pursuing a diploma, whether they're going the GED route or if they're with us for transition services and remediation in trying to transition into post-secondary, or whether they are with us for English language acquisition services. The goal of adult education is really to help people become self-sufficient, and a big piece of that is achieving financial stability. So beyond teaching literacy skills and workplace readiness, I think that the ability to manage money and understand their own personal finances is one of the things that can have a really significant impact on a person's quality of life. So today I just wanted to share a few of my favorite open education resources that I've run into over the years for financial literacy. If you search for adult ed financial lit resources, you're going to get a whole plethora of things. Many banks and credit unions have curriculums that they do for community education. Links has some really good resources, but these are some that I really have found valuable, and I hope that you will too. So my goal today is just to go through and highlight some of these different things, and then if you wanted to go back to them and do more of a deep dive, you're welcome to do that. So let me switch over, and I'm going to share my screen. Okay, here we go. So the first resource that I wanted to share is developed by the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. So we know that there's some validity behind the organization that's put these materials together. The curriculum is called MoneySmart. Each school district should have gotten a CD in the mail in the last week or so that's got materials and curriculum available, but it is all available from the website as well. There's some different tabs here when you go to the MoneySmart as far as how to implement. So there's some resources available to train the trainer and how to deliver the different strategies that are available there. If we tap over to this Learn, these are more targeted at students. So there's a computer-based instruction module that they can go through and do independently. And the reason that I brought us here was the Smart Money Podcast Network. So if you are working with students on listening comprehension, for example, our English language acquisition students, podcasts can be a really great way to do that. And so you get some real relevant basic financial information for them. The categories that they have there are the basics of banking, checking accounts, saving and spending plan, and borrowing money. So some really introductory topics that could be useful for our different audiences. But the bulk of this is going to be under this Teach tab. So they have 4 different versions of the curriculum. MoneySmart for young people is targeted at the K-12 audience, and there's 4 different age groups that are in there. The reason that I point that out to you is that I know many of you have partners that do family literacy, or we work with parents, and so they may be looking for resources of how can they start to have talks about financial literacy with their children, and this gives some age-appropriate resources. But the other curriculums are those that are going to be most relevant for us in the adult population. So MoneySmart for Adults is really a broad overview, general financial literacy curriculum. MoneySmart for older adults, very similar, but there's a higher emphasis on those areas that may apply more to our older adult population, such as how to prevent elder exploitation and the different scams that target older adults, and a little bit higher emphasis on things like estate planning and retirement that may affect the older adult population more than the younger adult population. There's also a MoneySmart curriculum for small business, and I know that some of our programs have started to offer entrepreneurship curriculum or want to incorporate some of those strategies into their different course offerings. So if you have students that are thinking about the possibility of owning a small business, this would be a great resource for them. But we're going to focus on the MoneySmart for Adults, and let me just show you what's entailed in that curriculum. There are 14 training modules, so you can see what is available there. Currently only available in English, but I would expect that there will be a Spanish coming out soon. This was recently redone just in 2018, and the prior version did have a Spanish version as well, and they've also got that check back for other languages, including Braille and a self-paced version. But those 14 modules, you can see what's included in there: spending and saving, managing debt, using credit cards, making housing decisions. In each of the modules, you can see how much time it's estimated to present that material, what some of the focuses and objectives are in that module. You get the instructor guide that you can download. There's a participant guide that includes all of the different handouts, and there's a slide deck that goes along with each of those as well. So you really have the full curriculum right here, and everything is available for download. As you scroll down, there's also some additional resources for presenters. So there's a presenter's guide on how to do this MoneySmart for Adults, as well as a supplemental activity guide. So if you are doing a full course and you want to add to the curriculum that's there, there's some different scenarios, particularly featuring individuals with disabilities and how they may think about different financial decisions. So that could be a really helpful resource. So that's the MoneySmart for Adults. We did send out a copy of the CD. If anybody wants to order hard copies, you can do that here on the website, but everything is also available for download. So I'm going to jump out of this one and go over to our next website. Okay, here we go. So the next resource that I want to look at is the Smart Investing at Your Library. This is part of the Family Prosperity Initiative, and the Salt Lake County Library received a $100,000 grant a couple of years ago through the Family Prosperity Initiative to develop a financial literacy curriculum that would be targeted at the refugee and immigrant population. And I'm going to jump over to take a look at the different partners here so you can see who was involved in this project. So of course, the Salt Lake County Library was the fiscal agent, and they brought together a variety of partners, including the English Skills Learning Center, the USU Extension, the Adult Education Program at Guadalupe School, at the Refugee and Immigrant Center that does adult education ESL classes as well, IRC, and the Social Research Institute. So a lot of really great collaborators there. Some of our colleagues spent a lot of time working on this project, and I think the end result is something that they can be really proud of, and I hope that it's a helpful resource to the rest of our programs. So the curriculum here is also all available online. And you can see there is some instructor materials where you get kind of your teaching guide. You've got some assessment and evaluation documents, and then the actual curriculum is broken down between beginner, intermediate, and advanced ESL levels. There's also an appendix that has like your vocabulary list, a lot of the different worksheets and handouts, and some support materials. And there's also links to the different concept videos that are referenced in the curriculum. So I'm going to click on one of those just so that you can see what the curriculum looks like. And I'm going to do ESL, and this is level 0 to 1, so very basic. Emergent readers may not have any literacy skills in their own language, and so the objectives that we would be working with them with financial literacy are very basic, just introduction to numbers, being able to recognize numbers, count by 5s and 10s, put numbers into sequence, recognize our currency and the value of a dollar bill versus the different coins that are available, and put those together to make different amounts. Also some basic banking vocabulary, and understanding the different types of government assistance that may be available to them. So this again is the lowest level. But if I scroll down into the lesson plans, you can see kind of what that looks like. You've got your objectives, what materials are required to teach that lesson. It gives you step-by-step instructions as an instructor of what you would do to go through each of the activities. There's also supplemental activities that you could do with that class depending on how much time you have available, and suggestions for homework that students could do. So as they go through, you can see there's a whole curriculum available. There's visual aids for you as an instructor, and then there were some video links so that you have some visuals to help students. So really a fantastic resource. It was designed with English learners in mind for the refugee and immigrant population, but could also be a helpful resource. Like I said, if you have students that are wanting to start to talk about financial literacy and money management with their children, as well as with our low literacy population on the ABE side. All right, I have jumped over to the third resource, which is Nextgen Personal Finance, NGPF. And some of you may be familiar with this organization. They did present at our conference last year, and I've been really impressed with the variety of materials that they provide, as well as how engaging and interactive they are. So through NGPF, you have access to a full curriculum. So if you wanted to do the entire semester course of high school financial literacy, they have 90 45-minute lessons that are completely developed with really engaging interactive activities there. They've also got different setups if you wanted to do it as an 8-week course, an 18-hour workshop, an 8-hour workshop. And as you click on any of those, you're going to get access to all of the lesson plans and materials, but you don't get like the answer keys unless you actually create an account. So I would encourage you, if you're going to use NGPF, to set up a free account. And that's just so that they can verify that you're a teacher and that students can't just get online and get all the answer keys to the materials in their classes. So they have you fill this out. If you use your school or organization email address, that helps them with the verification process, but it's really quick and easy. And then you have access to any of the materials that have a lock on it. But a lot of it doesn't, and you can just access it really quickly. You can also kind of pick and choose different activities and resources if you wanted to just incorporate some different financial activities into various curriculums. So each of these different types of resources has so much value, and there's just a wide variety of resources in there, but I did want to highlight a few different ones. So one is the question of the day. Every single day there's a new financial literacy question that's posted. You can have that emailed to you if you want to get it in your inbox every morning, or you can come to the library of question of the days if there's a specific topic that you want to focus in on. So that's also posted just on the home page. So if you scroll down to the bottom of the home page, you can see what today's question of the day is. And let's see what it is. What % of American households have a pet? So it takes it just a second to load, but each of these question of the days comes with some data to answer the question. You can see over the years what % have a pet, 68%, as well as how much households spent on their pets. So some pretty staggering numbers there. I'm assuming that's millions. And you can also click here for more information on that topic. That usually takes you to an article that's going to give you more in-depth information, may take you to the resource for the different tables, and there's always follow-up questions there as well. So this one about pets was kind of interesting, but ties you back into financial literacy. How much are the annual costs to have a pet? Have you ever considered buying pet insurance? And just having students think about the different costs associated. And again, that changes every day. Another resource that I wanted to highlight are the data crunches. So with the data crunches, again, they break these into the different units, but within each of them, there's different tables available. So let's just go to budgeting. And you can see a variety of different data crunches available. How is the middle class spending their money? When we click on that, it's going to take us to a Google Doc. So everything here is shareable. And you see we've got a table. So we've got some data to crunch and some questions to analyze that. So you can print these out as handouts for your class. You can have it up on your whiteboard and do a class discussion as they analyze that table there. And so you can see decrease from 2007 up to now and how different spending patterns have changed, some of the questions that go along with that graphic, what cost categories increased at a greater rate than inflation during this time period, what percentage of income were they saving in 2013, so that's just being able to read and understand the graph. For the costs that increased, were they not wants or were they needs? So you can see you've had really a lot of opportunity to analyze data, make inferences, interpret charts. So really getting some basic math skills in there as well as some critical thinking. And there's quite a few of those different data crunches available in each of the different topics. Another of the resources that is one of my favorites from NGPF are their interactives. And I know which one I'm looking for, so I'm just going to pull up Payback. This is an interactive game that's actually won some awards that focuses on decisions that students make when they are preparing to go into college. Let me get this going. And you can see how this pops up. And it's kind of a choose your own adventure game. So it's time to apply for college. Enter your details and we'll find out where you are accepted. So I'm going to say I'm a 3.0 student, did a couple of extracurriculars, and I live in the great state of Utah. So let's apply to college. Okay, I'm accepted into 4 different types of universities and I've got to decide where I'm going to go. I think the best option for me is going to be community college. I'm a commuter. So you can see that we're building up our bars along the bottom of this. You've got your focus bar, trying to have some kind of balance, connections and social networking, our happiness meter, as well as our debt. So I'm starting out with $8,500 in debt just by choosing the community college route. Had I chosen another route, that would be a higher number. And they give us these different scenarios. So your uncle's offering you $400 a day for labor. He's a cheap guy, so it must be a really miserable job if he's going to pay that much. So do I pass on that or say no pain, no gain? You know what? I could take $400, so that's great. And when I made that decision, you can see my total debt decreased. You're not leaving town, but you can still leave home. Do you want to live at home and stay at your own place? I'm going to get my own place. So making that decision, my student debt increased. So you can go through and there's this whole scenario, all of your different things adjust with each answer. So you can see my happiness increased when I moved out of my parents' house. What's really fun is to have students go through and do this a couple of different times with different scenarios and see how their outcomes are different. And there are several of those interactives. One of the ones that was most recently posted that's also really fun is called Shady Sam. So let me show you that one. And that's about comparing different types of loan options. And with each of these interactives, you can see there's some follow-up activities that you can have students do reflection questions, and so there's some discussion guide to help them process the purpose of doing the interactive game. So let me click into Shady Sam here. So I'm going to start playing the game. And the scenario here is that I'm working for Shady Sam, and my job is to make as much money as possible off of the backs of hardworking Americans. And how am I going to do that? By issuing loans that make me the most profit. So I have to be able to analyze the situation, look at different types of interest rates, and see what's going to be the most effective option for me, the shady loan shark. So I would encourage you to take some time and just play around on that NGPF website because there are a lot of really fun resources. The last thing that I wanted to show you guys is on Utah Futures. And I know a lot of you are already very familiar with Utah Futures. You've been using the reality check, the Explore Careers tool that was updated last year is really fantastic and engaging. You've got your resume builder in there. And the newest feature that they're working on is not live yet, but it will be next year. And it is this Return on Investment Launch My Career tool. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of a preview because it's something that the team at Utah Futures has been working on for a while, and I think it's going to be really exciting. They will be using real data provided by Department of Workforce Services, the higher ed institutions, and the technical college system. And what this will do is allow a student to select an area of interest, so they can say what type of degree or certificate they're looking for, and then compare different institutions side by side. So if, say, a student was interested in becoming an RN and they weren't sure whether they wanted to go to Weber State or UVU, they could look and see what the cost would be to enter the program, how long it would take them to complete it, so their average time to complete the degree, the average first-year wages for students that complete that program, as well as the average earnings over 20 years. So they can really compare and contrast the effectiveness of the different programs and what their return on investment would be. So not just, which institution has the lowest tuition, but which is going to have the biggest impact for me over the long term. So really kind of a cool and engaging tool, and something that I would encourage you to be on the lookout for in the next school year. I'm anticipating probably this fall they'll have that launched. So let me go back to this WebEx, And so those were the 4 resources that I really wanted to share with you guys. You can see that I've linked them here. All of them were really easily found with a Google search. But if you'd like a copy of the slide deck so that you have those links, you can just email me at danielle.peterson@schools.utah.gov. And if you have other resources that are really fantastic that we should add to this list, I would love to hear from you. So thank you very much for your time. And I really just encourage you to think about the different ways that you can incorporate financial literacy on a routine basis into all of your different content area courses. Thanks.